The only thing that matters in life, putting in its proper context, since we're in the digital age, the information age, astrologically the Aquarian age, which is I know, coming up out of the Piscean age, which was I believe. The only thing that matters is you being your own subscriber and you being your own follower. Even if nobody's watching, even if nobody's listening. If you've ever heard of the question, if a tree fell in the forest and nobody was around to watch it, nobody was around to listen to it, did that tree still make a sound? Yes, it did. In connection to you being your own follower and your own subscriber, your life is your own channel. Your life is your own creative venture. You are here to create your life out of your individuality. You're not here to be a leaf in the wind. You're not here to be effects of a cause that you don't know or you're ignorant of. You're here to be the cause, to cause effects. And when you are constantly being your own follower, you are constantly leaving comments under every single day, every single accomplishment, every single, even if you may have quote unquote made a mistake, or if you fell by the wayside, even going through that certain situation, you still being your number one supporter, like no matter what, I got me. That's you coming home. That's you coming home to yourself. But most importantly, that's you being a kid again. Because when you're expressing yourself creatively, when you're expressing yourself, even if you don't consider anything that you're doing a creative venture, you're still creating your life. But when you come into life, when you're expressing yourself authentically, and if you're doing this and you're being your own supporter of your own ventures, of what you're doing, what you're building your life, and you're constantly seeking to grow, constantly seeking to know more about yourself, you doing that is you being a kid again, because you're taking the creator role in your life. You're taking the cause role in your life instead of being the effects, because as a kid, you could care less what anybody said about you. As you were playing with your toys as a kid, you could care less if anybody was looking at you while you were playing with your toys. You could care less if you said something and you were blunt, honest, and just direct about it. You could care less what anybody else said anything about it. You could care less, because your right and your left hemisphere, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, your left brain and your right brain were working hand in hand. Your imagination and your rationale were working hand in hand. But somewhere along the line, you stopped listening to yourself. Somewhere along the line, you stopped going to yourself for your solutions. You started second guessing yourself. You started doubting yourself. You started hesitating. Instead of your mind working in harmony, there came to be a pause. And because this is a return to your childlike mind, a child resembles a star. You see, when we be talking about watching movies, listening to artists, and when we talking about stars, people, stardom, star power, when the reason why we put them in quote unquote such a high esteem and up on a pedestal is because they resemble what most of us will want to feel like. Because we look at kids and, oh, they're blunt, they're direct, they're honest, or, oh man, they don't have any responsibilities. And we say that, but we really envy them. But you got to understand, remember, in your life, the only reason why you have to literally hypnotize yourself into like, yeah, I am okay with being seen. Yeah, I'm okay with being hurt. I really should not care about what others think about me. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words cannot hurt me. You have to hypnotize yourself back into thinking this. Because of what? There was a disconnect. And drawing it back to stars. As a kid, and relating it to stardom, this is why we put people on up there, because they don't give a damn if we're looking at them or not. They don't care. They're doing their whatever their talent is, whatever their craft is. It don't matter how many people is looking at them. It don't matter how many people is talking about them. I'm still going to do the damn thing because this is what I do. That's the connection between you so-called being an adult and the kid, because there is no disconnect between the little kid that you were and the adult that you are now. Because if there was, where did he or she go? Did you drop him off somewhere? Or you stopped listening to him. You stopped listening to her. You stopped looking at that part of your mind, because look, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, even though they were linked, the subconscious mind took the forefront, because the subconscious mind is the majority of your reality. It's the projector of your reality. It takes all the instructions you give it through your conscious mind and it projects it out. It's the place where all of your deep-seated beliefs about yourself, about the world, is stored and recalled and projected outward into your reality. It's the place where your intuition is. It's the place where your imagination is, your creativity, how you can appreciate art. It's your emotional, the energy and motion. The emotions are there. The reason why you can look and literally read a story and be able to understand it in its entirety, holistic, versus having to break shit down just to understand what it is. That's the majority of your brain. This is why they say, oh, humans only use 10% of your brain, because of the disconnect that happened when you were a child. This is what nobody wants to talk about. But that's how simple life is. Everybody talks about, when everybody's trying to go about a situation where they're trying to get a rest or a reprieve, a vacation. They're trying to stop going through what they're going through for just a second. This is why a lot of people go on jobs and be like, they got paid time off. How many days they get paid time? What? Because adulting and responsibility. See, some of us were even in a rush as a kid. Man, I just want my own place so I can be on my own, so I can do my own thing. Even though that's all fine and good and it's a part of life, that requires you to put away childish things. But the problem is, people don't think there's anything relevant when you were a kid as to who you are now. The reason why you look at life the way you do now is because somewhere along the line, your limitation of choices took the forefront. You no longer think your imagination is a viable source or a viable tool for creating your life. And the only way you can do this is if you look to yourself. This is why you can't give or you can't express yourself authentically unless you look inside first. You can't, even when people talk about you can't be selfish until you're selfless, or you can't be selfless until you're selfish first. Even when you're talking about, man, I want to give to people, I just want to do this for the world, I just want to do that. You can't do none of that if you don't know what you got inside. This is why a lot of people always say do with what you got. Because if you're constantly, and this is the disconnect, when you went through childhood and got smacked right into trauma is something that catches you off guard, and it hits you so deep that you either have to bury it or you understand what it is and you operate as if that's the reality that we have to go by now. Either way, it's a limitation. It snatches your freedom away from you if you don't know how to transmute it. And that's the process of childhood. Because it went from playing with your toys. It went from doing what you wanted to do. It went from that into stop playing in there. You're being too loud. Shut up. Don't you see when you're in here talking? Grown folks talking. Go in the room. Stay outside. Did you do your homework before you played your games? All of this may seem innocent, like, yeah, there's responsibilities. Yeah, you got to be mature. Yeah, you got to grow up. But this was the dumbing down and the structuring down of your reality. This is what, but you got to understand, everything you see around you came from somebody's what? Mind. Came from what? The imagination. Came from what? Creativity. For some reason, everybody still thinks that as a kid, once you grow up, there's no more time for being childish. You got to grow up. You got to mature. Your body biologically, with the pituitary gland and the pineal gland and your hormonal system, sends out hormones for you to grow. Understandable. Everybody does it. All the way down to the damn insects, all the way down to the damn animals, reptiles, all of them do the same thing. The problem is, with your mind, that disconnect between you doing what you want and creating your life in the imagination, using both parts of your brain versus the logical side, your conscious mind, which is what makes sense, using logic, deduction, step by step, one directional versus looking at an entire thing from looking at the bigger picture. That's the bigger picture is literally the majority of your mind. But when you go through that disconnect, that's how you can't lead your life. And what are you living? A lie. You're living a lie when you don't listen to yourself. You're living a lie when you don't follow your path. You're living a lie when that gut, that intuition, the intuition in your subconscious mind is what? It's always right. This is why would you not lead your life if you got something in your body, in your mind, that is always right? Think about that. Everybody says this across the world. Listen to your gut. Always trust your gut. Your gut is never wrong. But most people think this only applies to big situations like, is she the one? Is this the job? When you're thinking about a career change, traveling to somewhere, making a big decision at work, any of these things, the only time this thing pops up in your mind and you go to that is when you have to make a big decision in your life. Not understanding that your whole path and your purpose and all of your passions and your interests have something to do with what your intuition is telling you to do, because that's what you're here to do. You're here to express your individuality. You're here to create. You're here to create your life. You're not here to just be a leaf in the wind. Just like, oh, well, what happened today? Oh, well, it's how I feel. And then if anybody asks you, why are you feeling the way you feel? You all right? You good? Well, this is what happened to me. You're here. The only reason you're here is to create. You're only here to act out creation. You're a microcosm of the macrocosm. What is in the drop of the ocean that's not in the ocean? Let's say that again. What is in the drop of the ocean that's not in the ocean itself? You think because you down here and you gotta work a job and you gotta do certain things and you gotta pay bills and all of this, that's just all your life? That's just what you supposed to do? Get a good paying job, and then or hopefully if you can just get a wife, get a husband, have some kids, buy a house, and then get a good job, maybe go on 1 or 2 vacations a year, and you're not supposed to give something to the world. You're not supposed to express yourself. You just supposed to just fit in where you get in where you fit in. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you've been taught. Why have you been taught that? Because your intuition is right no matter what is going on. This is why most people who follow their intuition are deemed what? Crazy, delusional. They're hallucinating. What do you say? That doesn't make sense. It's not going to work because it's not supposed to look good. It's not supposed to be understood. You're not supposed to be understood by everybody. Leading back to you being your own subscriber and your own follower every single day while you on the fucking toilet, while you sitting in traffic, while you putting your clothes on. You just got off the phone with your girlfriend. Every single day, the more times you check in with yourself, the more times what? You're going to increase your ability to give. Why? Because you're always looking at yourself and you're appreciative of what? Yourself. See, that right there is what we're not taught that. Because you have to first appreciate yourself. Why am I here? Why am I here on planet Earth? See, it's propagandized and it's taught for you to just go with the motions. You're only supposed to go with the motions. Your mindset is supposed to be, if you don't get it done, you're supposed to think that you're valued in something that's less than what you are. You're supposed to, because in that process of what? Again, being smacked the fuck into trauma, that's what put you, remember, in that particular time, 9 times out of 10, you are not told how to deal with your emotions. You are not told, why is this happening to me? You are not explained, you are not sat down and told, this is how you deal with what happened to you. This is how you continue to have both sides of your mind working together. That inner conflict that you deal with in an adult life, wanting to escape from responsibility, anything you want to escape to just resembles being free as a kid. Whether you want to go to the club, go to the vacation, all of this resembles the freedom that you had. But that disconnect back then came from what? You not knowing how to deal with your emotions. This is why emotional intelligence is the key to what? Building and creating your life, but most importantly, creating it authentically. If you are constantly running away from yourself, constantly running away from your emotions, you can't do anything. This is where people have outbursts. I thought he was a nice guy. He kept putting his emotions down. He kept letting it fester up until the point to where it had to go. It had to go somewhere. This is what happens when you don't look back at yourself. You don't check in with yourself. You don't take care of yourself. You can't take care of nobody. You can't give to the world. You can't give to, we're not even talking about globally. We're not even talking about locally. You can't even give to the niggas that are around you until you look inside of yourself and understand, why am I feeling this way? Objectively. Not trying to tell yourself everything that just, oh man, well, just gonna make you feel comfortable, because that's all you've been doing anyway. That's how your life is, the way it is right now. That's why I said, if you listen to your intuition, that's why it's not taught to listen to your intuition. It's only thrown out there in main situations. Your intuition can be utilized for your day-to-day decisions. What you think it's just over there like, oh yeah. And then it helps you out and it's like, oh yeah, no doubt, man. I got you next time. Just let me know when you need me. It's always there. You want to know why it's always there? Because you get through situations and circumstances, and then what? When you don't listen to it, what you say? Something told me I shouldn't listen. Something told me. Man, I knew But when you do listen to it, what? Oh, you are confident. You enjoy yourself. You even want to tell somebody, see, I knew, you even want to tell people, like, I knew, that's what I knew he was going to do that. I knew he was going to do that. Why do you think that you can't create a life from that? Your life. Why do you think that can't permeate into all aspects of your life? Your health, your finances, your relationships, your mentality and your perception of the world, expanding your mind. That's what the imagination and that's all of what the right mind represent. Your right mind. That's what it represents. You being in your right mind is what ancient societies always taught. They taught this. They taught this, and this is why what? They built wonders of the world that still baffle our minds to today. Why? Because they were not looking for what makes sense in the physical. That has nothing to do with anything. The physical is limited. They even show you in the having all these tests on the 5 senses. You think something in the corner of your eye. Or you can even get into a situation where you look stupid because what? That's what you wanted to see. That's not what was there. This is why even in law and criminal investigations, eyewitness testimony. Who really saw what? This is why everybody loves crime shows, because you're trying to get down to the bottom of what happened. But what is being dependent? That's why all of the technology had to be like, oh, this is unreliable. We need something that is what? Objective, not subjective. That doesn't have a bunch of bullshit going on in their mind. This is where you get what? Surveillance. Your cameras don't give a fuck who you are. The technology. Back to the central premise. You are here to uplift yourself. You are here to trust yourself. You are here to create from yourself. You can't do that if you're constantly looking for or depending on or judging your actions based on, I wonder if so-and-so gonna say something about this. Even to the point to where you may get to the point to where I've never seen anybody do this before. Is it right? Is it the right way? Should I be doing this? And if everything is pushing you to do it, but you talk yourself out of it. Why? Because that talking yourself out of it has something to do with the conversation in your head, with your emotions, unresolved emotions, unmanaged emotions. So the message is to what? Just check in with yourself as often as possible. Are you good? Sally, are you good? Johnny, are you okay? Is everything all right? And what are you doing right there? You're parenting yourself. You're checking in with yourself. You're giving. Ain't this what we always say when we're having a child? I want to give him or I want to give her something that I didn't have. Why don't you give yourself that first? Why don't you start there? Why don't you start at home base? Home base is where all things emanate from. This is why everybody at your job, everybody everywhere is always like, I can't wait to get home. This is why people have to get into work or wherever you are around people, and you have to adjust. This is why as an adult, you're going around, this is why it is a farce to become a better person or a better human or anything. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you're doing is escaping. You're trying to escape, even if you're taking care of responsibilities. Even if you can build your life and create, you're only resembling what? Being a kid. That freedom you had as a kid. My needs are all met. I can go anywhere. You're trying to get to that point. My needs, or at least that's what you think of as quote unquote heaven on earth. My needs are always met. I don't have to worry about them being met. I don't have to try hard. My responsibilities are taken care of. The active inclusion of yourself taking part in those activities is where the stress comes from. Because the naturally The natural part of you and the part of your mind, it don't matter who you are, no matter where you come from. The natural part of your mind operates on what MO? It don't take all that. It shouldn't take all of this. Even people who say like, nah, man, you gotta grind, you gotta hustle. That's why that shit is outdated already. Because it's simple. What they say, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That's why the simplest things have something to do with what? The mind. Universal principles. The law of correspondence. Corresponding things and finding patterns in things and understand, okay, this is like this, boom, I don't need to go over there because this is what this was like. The law of correspondence even literally goes down to the congealed 3D form material reality that we in. A woman, if you're a woman, your placenta, if you take out your placenta, it looks exactly like the branches and the roots of a tree, of the neurons in your head, of the what? The bronchioles and the what they say, the alveolar sacs and everything in your lungs. All that shit looks the same. It's just the same shit in different form. That's the law of correspondence. When you do that, when you operate according to that's all of what you did as a kid. This is what they show in Baby Geniuses. This is why he was looking crazy. The daddy in Baby Geniuses was looking crazy. He was over there he was literally trying to tell everybody, the kids have the key to life. If we could only understand them. Because he knew that they are coming from somewhere in that realm that they are steeped in, the imagination. They are steeped in, the majority of the universe is even what? Dark matter. Which corresponds to what? Your right mind, your right brain, which is what? The unseen part. This is why the conscious mind is so limited, because it deals with what? The physical reality, the 5 senses. You live with cats. You live with dogs who can hear shit better than you. You think because you can't hear shit, you can't see shit, that it don't exist? And that's just that's only domesticated pets. You got animals, insects, creatures around the world that can do otherworldly shit in our mind, but we look at them like, oh well, they're just an animal. Not understanding that your connection to those individuals has something to do with the part of your mind that you don't utilize, your imagination. This is why when people use their imagination, this is why when people make or overcome feats that have or were structured or were quote unquote previously locked down in people's minds as like being impossible. Once those individuals do that, they're looked at as what? Superhuman. This is why you have superheroes. Because superheroes, what do you see in movies and the series when the superheroes are doing some shit? They're saving people, but what? They always have an origin story. That origin story is when they was getting beat up, stuffed in lockers, whooped, they ass beat at home. Told they mama probably never loved them or never showed them any love, never hugged them. Probably got off the titty early, just got weaned off the breastfeeding early, or their daddy was always beating on them. You even listen to stories like James Brown. James Brown, his mama was a prostitute in the whorehouse. Nigga was around her. And then we look at get on up. Look what came from that. So if you don't check in with yourself, you will never be able to value anything creative about yourself. You will always be in a zombie-like state. And going through a zombie-like state is what? Is like being leeched on. It's like being a victim or a host for a parasite. You always see a parasite. Have you ever really seen a parasite like literally in real time take over its host? There's plenty of videos on it. The host starts fighting, and then once what does the parasite take control of? The entire do-it-yourself mechanism of the mind. After the parasite gets done with you, you're only what? A life source to be drained from. This is why you're constantly stressed, because you're not creating. You're only what? Consuming. This is the whole that little theme or whatever. If you can't check in with yourself, you're constantly going to be what? Trying to consume things from the outside to fill that which automatically comes from within. But you know why you don't know it comes from within? Because you've never been told that. Nobody teaches that anymore. Nobody is really invested in you as what you're supposed to do, as what you're supposed to be invested in yourself for. That's why it is what? Not supposed to be quote unquote easy to be an individual, but it's simple. All you got to do is understand what took me off the path. What took me off the path, and be able to look at it objectively, not take it personally, and look at it in what? The proper context, and understand, oh, this can be used as what? Intelligence for the mission. Oh, I'm gonna get shit done. But that happened to me. Okay, boom. It made me feel like this way. Cool. All right, boom. No longer will we wallow in this. Something can be found from this. Everything, every situation, circumstance, individual that you've ever come across is what? On a spectrum of polarity. That's the law of polarity. Because this is why what? The law of polarity is what? Basically what? On a thermostat. What's hot and what's cold? You don't know. It's a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of perspective. So if something is hot to you, it might be cold to somebody else. There's people that can be living in a apartment on their house, have what? 78 degrees, and be like, I'm cool. Some people will come in there and be like, I'm sweating. Why are we in hell? So that law of polarity can be applied to everything in your life. Any situation and circumstance. That's why even going through situations even looking on it, it can be taken in a different perspective. Your grandmama or somebody's granddaddy, or you could look at somebody and they slap somebody's granddaddy. And everybody will be looking like, now you know you shouldn't be doing that. Come on now. Respect your elders. Whose kid is this? Whose kid is it? Who taught him this? What? He ain't got no home training. Not understanding that kid could have gone through his life and understood and finally found out that man was what? You killed my grandma. You're the reason why we're in the situation that we're in. You're the reason why, like, and even if not even going as far to even, why did you do the way to think? Just understanding that context, you can look at it two different ways. It's all a matter of what you know and what you don't know. That's what life is. When you were a child and you went through the process of what? Growing up, maturing, structuring your mind as to how to deal with the world or to get prepared to survive or thrive in the world, right? To be on your own, to be independent, right? This process involved what? Obedience. There's no shame. There's no As well-mannered and as well-intentioned and as well-loving as your parents were, that's what was a part of it. That was what did it. Your obedience was what? And this all happened in what? The environment that is supposed to be the safest environment. It's supposed to be the best environment for you to learn what is life like on the outside. You going through that particular circumstances, all that trauma you went through, you had to balance all of what? Your emotions along with the stress of your mama and daddy. As well intentioned as they are, nothing's perfect here. So you were automatically supposed to go through suffering, even if you had a good home or whatever. It's impossible to like your mama and daddy and everybody around you all the time. You're going to have certain situations where you're going to feel certain ways and feel like, am I supposed to act like this? That part where you were what? That part right there, when that started, when you was like, I'm going to try not to be on my daddy bad side. I'm going to try not to get on my mama bad side. I'm going to try to stay on everybody good side. I'm going to try to be the best that I can be. I don't want to be looking ass out. I don't want to be the ugly duckling. It's the family name. I can't be sticking out. I can't make nobody look bad. All of these things, as well intentioned as you were, even if you developed that, led you into what? Developing behaviors that led you off the path, quote unquote, of you being yourself. This is where you constantly switch. This is what a lot of people talk about. This goes past race. This goes past like code switching. Everybody does it. Because when you come into adulthood, or even before adulthood, what are you taught? You don't act this way when you go into the store. You don't act this way when you go into the restaurant. You act a different way in the coffee shop versus you acting in the damn library. You gotta act one way in the DMV versus you acting in your class or wherever. You know you can be doing all this at the club, but you come up to work, you better not be doing none of that. You're gonna be at what? How you gonna pay your rent? How you gonna pay your car note? What? How you gonna do that? Coming in there thinking that you can come up there drinking, smoking, doing all of that shit, whatever the fuck. The key is you leading your life starts with you checking in on yourself. And checking in on yourself, you're not always going to be okay. But that's a part of understanding who I truly am. What do I truly feel about what I'm going through? How I've been going through it. And do I even think that I can, do I even perceive anything past this? Do I even think that I can create and I'm capable of something that is what? Can come from what? My name. That can come from me being the cause of it. Am I willing to take responsibility for that? When you do that, building up enough of that like they do in video games. When you press a certain button combination and you grab the orbs of the little light beams and you grab them and you start to more and more and you do that and do all of that. That's what, like I said, you start to be a kid again. Because as a kid, you had what? There was unlimited possibilities. Anything goes. Anything can happen. That part in your mind, it's still there. It's still there. This is why you can't be taught your subconscious mind. You can't be taught that your intuition must be abided by. If you heed the call of your intuition, you're heeding the call of your own soul. You're understanding why you're here. If you don't listen to it, you're constantly going against the grain. Oh yeah, you may be a cookie cutter. Oh, you may have done everything quote unquote right. But if you don't listen to yourself, who are you? You're living a lie if you don't listen to yourself. You're constantly switching back and forth as to what pleases somebody else, as to what you're supposed to be doing versus what you knowing what you need to do. That's what the intuition is, an inner knowing. An inner knowing. This is why it has nothing to do with logic. It has everything to do with, do you trust yourself? That's what the intuition, that's why people don't even like listening to their intuition for most things, because it's going to lead you down paths that have nothing to do with what anybody else is doing. It puts you in that state where I've never seen anybody do any of this. I've never seen anybody go through any of this, but I'm here. And by listening to my intuition, and if you understand that, you'll understand that it's always right. But are you willing to endure? Are you willing to endure? Are you willing to check in with yourself enough and be your own person, your own subscriber and follower to the point, like, if nobody follows their intuition, if nobody understands me, I understand myself. That's what it is. If nobody is willing to listen to me, I don't have to tell anybody, this is why I went through what I went through. You know why you went through what you went through, because that's what this is what the majority of your brain is telling you to do. You're only what? Listening to the part that is supposed to make sense. That is what? In with the crowd. That's all what your conscious mind is. Your conscious mind, everybody has that. Everybody has that. You dealing with the five senses, you dealing with the physical reality, dealing with logic. Anybody can pick up some damn facts. I don't give a damn if you look at somebody as dumb. Anybody can learn something. But can anybody make it into some shit that is their own? Can anybody apply certain principles, universal principles and concepts, and tie it into their own personal life and create something from it? That involves you not following the crowd, standing alone. Isn't that what they tell us when we're kids? Dare to be different. Stand out from the crowd. Don't follow whatever. If Johnny jumped off a bridge, would you do it? Johnny's my friend. Okay, he's your friend. Would you still do it? They tell you to make decisions for yourself and trust yourself. That's what this is all about. That's what life is. How much do you trust yourself to make every single decision based on what is in here? Not based off of what you read, not based off of what somebody else told you, based off of what you know for your goddamn self. That's what life is. That's what you're here to do. You're supposed to create life as uniquely as possible. Even down to your goddamn fingerprint, biologically. You're not like anybody else. Okay, your mama and your daddy smashed genes together, and here out came you. Out came your ass from the goddamn Punnett Square. But what are you gonna do with it? What are you gonna do with your life? What are you going to do with your life? See, this is where a lot of people think this is individualism. You're apart from the collective. Not understanding that's what you're supposed to be. You can only give from what you have. You can only give from what you are. You can't give from living a lie. Religion aside, that's why it still is. You can't serve two masters. You can't be, I want to do this, but also somebody else gonna think about this, so I'm gonna try to adjust. You're gonna be constantly adjusting to the fucking grave. Until what? You make the decision of like, all right, I trust myself. Even if I don't trust myself right now, I'm going to build trust with myself. How do you build trust with yourself? by looking at your goddamn self for the what? Source of inspiration, motivation. It comes from me. Everything is within me. The only reason I can connect with everything outside of me is I have to have a what? Receptor in me that I can connect to it with. Or else I can't do anything with it. The only reason why you can listen to somebody and understand what somebody else says is because you understand the language. Because you have a language center in your brain. Take it from your damn dog. This is why somebody can have a dog in Japan, and this is why somebody can't have a dog, that same breed of dog in California. And what? The dog still understands. Why? It has nothing to do with the language. It has everything to do with what? I have a receptor in my brain that can take patterns, that can understand things. And I can literally I can trust myself and understand it enough to what? Discern. That's what dogs are a symbol of. Discernment. I can think for my goddamn self. That's what this is all about. And this is where it has to get to the point. You checking in with yourself always leads up to the point to where now you done got to a point to where you can think of what? You're insulting my intelligence. This is where you can get to aspects of looking at the world, looking at things around you and understanding I'm past that. Not that I'm above that. That's why I said with the compassion. This is what the Tin Man was all about. He only wanted to feel. I just want to feel. This is why the Tin Man was like, oh man, I don't got a heart, man. And was over there checking in with his friends, helping Dorothy out, helping Scarecrow out, helping the Cowardly Lion out. The Cowardly Lion having courage only because he had to show courage. That's why everybody went for their goddamn self. Everybody was like, oh man, the Wiz's gonna get me. He's gonna get me courage. He's gonna get me some brains. This is why everybody, this is why in the movie, everybody had to get sent right the fuck back out and say, all right, y'all niggas need to work together. To be what? An individual, but what? Having a collective inside of you. To get to the point to where you can think what? Holistically and understand the bigger picture. The bigger picture is what? That has nothing to do with logic. That has something to do with what? Taking everything into consideration. You can't think that if you're only abiding by what? The facts of life. The facts of life only what? They change every day. There's certain things that literally people in the last generation did that this generation has no recollection of, no connection to, and no reason to abide by. This is why things in the Piscean age, if you want to talk about astrologically, this is why that was ruled by the realm of what? I believe. This is why it was ruled by what? Harbingers of belief. Locked down. Now that in the age of what? I know means I know for my goddamn self. I don't need to believe. You're no longer in the state of like, I understand this for myself. I don't need to be told. I don't need to be taught. I can teach myself. That's why in the context of this whole entire energy that we're in, this whole entire age, everybody is here for their own reasons at this particular time, at this particular space. And understanding that the only way you can breed success for yourself, create for yourself, create from yourself, the only way you can truly give is if you've put yourself in the circumstance of what? I trust myself. I know myself. I express myself authentically. This is why a lot of people say, like, you got to have that one honest friend that tell you like it is. Why are you not that honest friend? Why are you not that to yourself? And you being that to yourself is how you what? This is where you get the blimp and Scarface. The world is yours after that. Not for no materialism and takeover. This means the world is yours because what? As what we were talking about earlier. As a star, as a kid, you were in a world of your own. This is what we talk about. Oh, he's just in a world. This is why you can look at a kid and he's not looking back at you like, why are you looking at me? Like, why are you doing this? While he's playing with his toys. He doesn't care. She doesn't care while she's having a tea party with her friends. He's flying the plane. As far as he knows, everything is going well. Fine. That aspect of your mind is still alive. The only reason why you don't abide by that is because you're operating according to beliefs that tell you what? That is unnecessary. That's just a figment of your imagination. Well, why can't I just take my imagination out of my mind? Why do I find myself while I'm driving daydreaming? Daydreaming's using imagination. Anywho, back to the premise. Support yourself. Encourage yourself. Check in with yourself. Trust yourself.